We are live.
We'll double check on YouTube. Looks and sounds good. Woohoo! Welcome, everyone. It is Wednesday?
Tuesday.
Tuesday? One of those days.
Close. Very close.
Welcome, everyone.
Hold on a sec. I got this thing back on the computer. There we go. So yeah, it's a different time zone, and it really weirds me out, that this whole time zone thing. It's throwing me off days, apparently. So, welcome everyone to a Tuesday morning Foolish Tech Show. We're here to provide support and answer any questions about our products and services primarily. So feel free to jump over to our IRC chat at foolishtechshow.com or foolishit.com/live. We'll be happy to answer any of those questions or services, and definitely feel free to interrupt any of our random ranting and bantering, because that's what we're going to do to fill the dead air, and hopefully we'll entertain some as well. Looks like we got quite a few people in the chat. I'm not sure if they're all active, but it looks like we at least got RTM Tech and Glenn. So good morning to each of you. And yeah, so what's up? How's everybody doing?
Good morning, everyone.
Doing well. Thanks.
Morning, doing pretty good.
Very good.
Doing pretty good.
So anything special for today? It looks like we got Eagle Tech as well. Welcome, Eagle Tech. Well, if you don't have anything interesting, I think I had a couple.
Oh, I have some things to talk about, but go ahead. You go first.
All right. How about for starters, T-Mobile has a new plan as an uncarrier that they're going to offer stock options to customers. So when you sign up, you'll get a little bit of T-Mobile.
Interesting.
Oh, that was kind of interesting. Hey, and Thermos is in there as well. Morning, welcome. Yeah, so that's an extremely strange move, especially from a company that, an industry that has never been very trustworthy, and we've never really had a back of. But it looks like you can have up to 100 shares by referring friends, and I don't see what your default thing is at, but 100 shares would be valued at $43 as the writing of that article. So that's a pretty good piece of the company, and pay a couple cell phone bills at least.
Yeah. What? I'm sorry. What company was this?
T-Mobile.
T-Mobile. Yeah, I had saw something like that. So just their customers, not their employees, or what was this? What's the significance of this?
It's for customers, new and current customers. You can sign up for a new rewards program that grants you 1 share of stock for every T-Mobile primary account holder.
Well,
and then if you refer friends, you can get upwards of 100 shares.
I don't know. That's interesting. I've never seen anybody else do anything like that. I don't think.
But it sounds like
for it. Otherwise, I'm not sure. But
I mean, like the average primary account holders is probably what, 2. So they're giving away 2 shares of stock. That is under $100, and yes, most cell phone bills run between $100 to $300 or more a month.
Yeah, if it entices people to grow their user base, then certainly it's worthwhile for them.
If you want to pay off your cell phone bill, you can just refer all your friends to T-Mobile's crappy service. Yeah. I would prefer you refer your friends to Google Fi, which uses both Sprint and T-Mobile's service.
Yeah,
and
that might be a better choice. I like the Fi idea. Listen, I need your take, and I'm sure you've got it covered there. But what about this article regarding autocorrecting passwords, quote, without compromising security? I don't know if I buy the whole password should be autocorrected. That
Yeah,
just
what do you mean by autocorrecting? Like you're gonna
well, they focused on common mistyping mistakes. So, but they limit it. See, I think maybe in this limited case they might have they might have something with their research, but I still would question it. But anyway, engaging caps lock, inadvertently capitalizing the first letter of the password, or adding or omitting characters to the beginning or end of the password. And these are all things that they apparently say that they can autocorrect.
Do you have a link?
Without compromising security. Oh, yeah. I'm surprised though that this is the This is the original. Where's the chat? Okay, this is the original research paper. And here is Threat Post's take on it, and then a good counterpoint possibly to the article is not a counterpoint so much, but that's a related one as well. At any rate, I just, again, anything that we've all talked about the passwords not being insufficient, passwords in general, and anything that's associated with that. I think this is barking up the wrong tree. In other words, I think we need to get away from the whole paradigm of passwords, altogether. But anyway, I thought it was something that you'd be interested in. But
yeah, we need to get away from passwords altogether. Michael, what's your solution for that?
It would be, two-factor is a great mitigating one for the short term. I mean,
Still need the password there.
You still need the password there, but as long as it's 2 bits of information. We've talked about phrasing. We've talked about other method of generation that doesn't rely upon a password, single word, not plural. There's biometrics.
If you end up typing something in, that's going to be thing is a password on it.
Well, but you get away from the length issue, and it's the effectiveness of, let's say, like a rainbow table, rainbow hashes, or something like that. For phrases is so low, the impact on it's not worthwhile probably for the criminal.
So quantum computers come around.
Well, maybe, and we'll see. Anything can happen in the future, I'm sure. But the only short-term ones are basically what I just said: biometrics or passphrasing.
Yeah, because biometrics is so much more secure. We're all extremely good at not leaving DNA evidence everywhere.
Well, then come up with some other solution.
Having seen Mission Impossible, like every single biometric thing has been craftable.
But you can envision one that's...
Fingerprint scanners can be cracked if they just have a photo of your finger. Like right now, someone...
I understand. So you're always going to have two-factor. You're always going to have some form of two-factor. It's just determining what the factors are. And the supposition was that the passwords are not effective, and so what do we replace them with? I gave you a couple of alternatives. If please feel free to come up with your own.
You didn't give us any alternatives. They all exist.
Well, if one of the factors is easily bypassed, then it
Yeah,
doesn't really matter that it's two.
Well, no.
Authentication.
No, but that's the whole point. It's okay for one factor to be compromised. It's just that both can't be compromised at the same time.
So basically, we have a gate that we're okay with people getting through as long as they don't get through the second gate.
That's how two-factor is. That's the whole basis by which it works. If you disagree with two-factor being secure enough, then do your own thing. But I think two-factor has been proven to be pretty secure.
Well, it's a lot more secure if both factors are difficult to
agreed.
bypass.
Agreed. And again, remove the password point. The rest of it, though, I mean, you know, none of them are perfect, and that's why you have two combined. You know, because what's the other factors? Again, nobody's come up with one that hasn't been cracked yet. I mean, DNA analysis, it's getting so cheap to do DNA analysis. You could theoretically have
Build your own person just off
yeah, I mean, you could artificially strand together DNA to match the person you're attempting to impersonate. And there's, you know, take photographs of their eyes for you know, pupil, you know, matching or whatever they do for optical or for iris tracking or whatever. So, you know, this discussion needs to be driven, I think, by research and science. And so, you security geeks out there, come up with something better for us. And Slashdot has a story about the quote, and we're all well aware of this, the alarming rise in ransomware. But they're talking about numbers like a 3,500% increase in the criminal use of ransomware. Low risk, high reward. You know, they're covering all. There's 120 separate families of. This is a BBC article. There's 120 separate different families of ransomware currently, and there is another great one here linking to all the ransomware that's out there. And they talk about the buying the services in the underground markets for them. It's interesting. Now, this is as a side note. Microsoft has a malware mitigation thing called EMET, and I saw this story a little while ago. But I've never used it. But Microsoft's Enhanced Mitigation Experience Toolkit, but it's basically designed to stop older style attacks, but it's been shown to be circumvented, basically enabling a lot of old style attacks that typically hadn't been useful recently. Now, the only weird thing about this is that it's related to TeslaCrypt, and TeslaCrypt kind of stopped and gave out their encryption keys and shut down the service. So a little unclear on this. The ability for it to bypass EMET is very important, though. Did I actually post the link to that article? So the related article, 93 of RTMs confirming 93% of malware is now ransomware. So there's virtually, I mean, for all intents and purposes, you say malware today, you're probably referring to ransomware.
high percentage, yes.
Crazy how how that's changed in such a short period of time. I mean, we're talking about less than 3 years, going from a tiny percentage of the entire malware landscape to the absolute leader.
It's the most profitable.
Oh yeah, they give the reasoning for it in some of those articles that I shared there. But yeah, it's scary, and just understanding that it's profitable isn't quite enough.
It's profitable and easy.
Yeah, and virtually no risk.
Well, it's not easy if you have cryptocurrency. It'll make it a little bit harder.
A lot harder.
So, RTM Tech and Thermos and I have been talking in a different thread on the chat. He was saying that he's looking to port his landline to Google Voice. Do any of y'all use it here?
I have used it in the past. I don't use it anymore. But
Google Voice.
Yeah.
I've used it a little bit, but not for anything major.
I did it, but I did exactly what he's talking about doing.
I did it a long time ago because I highly prefer Google Voice over dealing with regular phone company phone line
Yeah.
setup.
No, I actually did it. I set it up in my home. I set up a PBX infrastructure and SIP-based adapter for actually a legacy phone, and set it up through Google Voice, and it worked pretty well. I did have to have a little server component running on my system to truly make it work, but I had complete flexibility and all the phone features you could ever imagine, and including the ability to get feed
That's a little
and
bit
weather
more.
and everything over the phone, which is not terribly useful anymore. But
That's a
Say,
little
Rambler?
bit more advanced. That's a little bit more advanced than just using Google Voice. Like as a service standalone right now, I feel like it's an awesome option because you have more than one number usually that you can be contacted at now. So Google Voice makes it so you only have one number that you ever have to give out to people. And then you have all your ways that you can be contacted, updated, and even scheduled so that, say, I don't want people to ring my cell phone at midnight, I can have it not ring that phone and just go straight to voicemail or do some of those PBX stuff that you don't have to have that full PBX system.
yeah, I mean, I guess you're right. I was going a little bit overboard with some of those things I was describing, and that's a whole different level of setup. But if you're just doing it for what you're talking about, it's a definitely a good solution and an easy to implement solution. And but just to let everyone know that did want to take it a step further, that did need more advanced features, you can combine something like Google Voice or another VoIP service with a PBX to give you complete control.
I just thought it was interesting. I've been using Google Voice for almost 10 years, and I really enjoy it and like it, especially having my voicemails transcribed for free. That's a pretty nice feature.
Yeah, but it's free because it gives them all it basically.
The transcription of it's not always the best, though. So.
Yeah, I remember the
They don't glean a
transcription being
lot.
kind of rough sometimes, or maybe most
Yeah,
of the times.
they don't glean a lot from those voicemail transcriptions, I can tell you, Michael.
If I
Except how
remember
bad
correct,
they are at doing that.
if I remember correctly,
Well,
Vonage's transcription is a lot better than Google Voice.
You
the
also have to pay for Vonage.
Yeah, you have to pay
ostensibly
for Vonage.
ostensibly though, that the more they transcribe, the better they should get. But
Yeah, but the other thing too is I really like the fact that you don't even have to have a phone if you're just using Google Voice. So like, say you do lose everything and you don't have your cell phone anymore, you don't have your landline anymore, you have an internet connection and a computer, you can still operate just like you have a phone.
that's a good point. That's a good point. I can see that. I hope to never be that without. But yeah.
Well, I mean, it could just be you left it and maybe you got kidnapped and then they decided they didn't want to kidnap after listening to you for 12 hours in the back of the trunk. So they dropped you off in the middle of nowhere with your computer and you're at a free Wi-Fi.
Yeah, well, if they've taken my phone, why they don't take the computer and the free Wi-Fi? Yeah, it's a little bit okay.
No, you left your phone at home. Maybe they caught you when you're in the bathroom and you had your laptop out.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Okay, RTM Tech says now you can opt in for a more detailed service used for transcription of voicemail. I guess that's relating to
the Google Voice.
Or is it? Yeah. What are you? RTM, is that Google Voice? We'll wait on a response for that.
I haven't actually checked into a lot of that stuff lately. That may
Yeah,
be
it might have
also the
changed.
other reason why they're not getting very much better with their transcribing thing is because you have to log into the website to report, hey, this wasn't a good transcription. Try better, Google. Probably not a lot of people are doing that.
Yes, RTM Tech is confirming. So I would check that out. It looks like you might have additional transcription options that you can choose that may improve that. Now, I would also check out any privacy, issues with those types of services. But especially,
Well, honestly, I'm one that I hope the phone thing phases out into oblivion. Like, I think phone numbers are a terrible idea.
Okay.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think they should just make it so that everything's electronic, internet based now.
Oh, yeah, that'll allow us to have control. What about all those people in those third world countries you were talking about that can only use SMS text messaging, and that's about all the access to communication and technology that they have?
Well, their SMS technology could be done over the internet already.
Yeah, okay, so, well, yeah, I guess you could still take out the phone part of it, yeah. It's a little.
Well, I'm going to look into that voicemail transcribing. Thanks, RTM Tech. I hope they offer it for people that have been with them forever too. But while I do that, here's a cool chart that compares a ton of the hacker-friendly single board options. So things like the Raspberry Pi, and
Oh,
if
I want to see
for
this.
some reason, unfortunately, want to get Odroid, probably could do that.
Or another alternative like a Pine 64. Still waiting shipping info on that. Let me see that link, man. And
Posted it. And,
you did?
yeah, what are you going to do with your Pine 64 now?
That's the one that I'm going to do the more playing around with. I had specific goals for the other two boxes, and I'm pretty satisfied with how they're running, and they're very dependable, but I would like another one to, just to screw around with and kind of work on different projects and not focus on one particular thing. And I think it might be a good fit for that. So let me take a look at, that's interesting. That chart. I also wanted to point out, I've been following the whole GTX 1000 series cards, and I believe the embargo is lifted on the 1070 and the reviews and stuff, so you should probably see those coming out. The 1080 I felt was a little bit too pricey, too super high end for me, and this will be the much more cost effective bang for buck version of it, and I believe it's going to be on sale now.
You can just get two of those and have better than the 1080 already.
I never recommend getting two of anything at the get-go. If anything, buy one, wait till they drop in price, and then get the other one to double your power. Much better bang for a buck that way than buying two out the gate. I've seen people who do two out the gate, and in almost every single case, it's better to go with the higher end board rather than two of the lower end boards. And since NVIDIA is actively discouraging SLI setups at this point.
So wait, you just suggested that we get one of the crappy boards because that one looks like the best one. But then you're saying
crappy is relevant. Both these cards are class leading in their fields. I mean,
yeah, but if you want to get two down the road, you want to get two of the better ones.
Well, again, we'll get a 1080 now, and then get another 1080 down the road. I mean, that
still be way more. But that's what I'm saying, Michael. Is that if you do two 1070s,
they're more expensive than a 1080. I know the 1070s are more powerful as well, but I really don't think it's
two of them. It wouldn't be more expensive.
Listen, NVIDIA, do you know what you have to go through to enable SLI on these new cards? I've done the research. You have to get a special SLI adapter, and then you have to contact NVIDIA and request the ability to SLI your cards. Okay, if you really think that means that they're supporting SLI in this generation of products, you're sadly mistaken. They pretty much wants to get everybody off of it because it's gone away with DirectX 12. The minute a game could support DirectX 12, you could put any two DirectX 12 cards in the computer and have them run side by side together, whether they're from AMD, Intel, or anybody else.
So you don't need SLI stuff anymore, is basically what you just said.
Yes.
So you could still get two of them and still have twice as much power as what you would get with a 1080, and for the same price. And you wouldn't have to SLI or adapter or anything.
Well, none of your legacy, games that don't support DirectX 12 are going to be able to take advantage of that. So it definitely limits you. Okay, you'd have to buy all new games.
You can SLI
DirectX 12 games.
You can SLI if you want.
It's not called SLI. It wouldn't be SLI anymore at that point. It would be DirectX 12.
No, for the SLI, you said that we could enable that. We just have to get an adapter and have NVIDIA enable for us.
Yeah, and I think that's a little bit too much to ask the consumer to do, but there is that option. Yeah, I just again don't believe that they are supporting this moving forward. So I believe it's not useful to discuss SLI as a valuable option any longer, and I believe I still disagree with your judgment that you should just buy 2 cards. The power requirements for 2 cards is dramatic, and it's not always just plop in 2 in the same case with the same power supply and everything else and have it magically work. So either you had to take the 2 into account before you purchased, but maybe not after. Now, there's a little mitigation with these new cards. They're so power efficient that
Magically work?
a lot less power than the previous generation, meaning that you probably won't have to upgrade your power supply to have more than one of these cards. But again, the 1070 is way more. Unless you have a screen large enough and a high enough resolution screen, you're not going to be able to take advantage of it. I think the 1070 fits most people's needs. Bang for buck. There's going to be some that want more, and there's the 1080 for those folks. But I believe that this basically gives you a card that's faster than the 980 Ti at a fraction of the cost, or as fast as the 980 Ti at a fraction of the cost, and that to me is tremendous.
So, Michael, for your whatever hashing thing, would you be able to? You have to have SLI for that or not? For your,
my folding thing.
Yeah.
No, that's irrelevant to SLI.
So if you just had 2 video cards in there, it would work just as what you're.
Theoretically, I've never actually seen that in practice. I have seen 2 people use 2 cards, like 2 NVIDIAs and 2 AMDs, but I've never actually seen somebody mix in that and talk about it. It's really probably not a good reason, but
Well, I'm not saying to mix brands and drivers. I'm saying if you use the same card and get 2 of them, wouldn't you be doubling what you could get for a 980 or 1080?
I think so. I think so.
So it's not just gaming that buying 2 of the crappier cards would still benefit you more than getting a 1080.
Maybe. Let me clarify that. On the dual use of the cards in that there may be a condition on that. I don't know. But it's not just gaming. Yeah, it isn't.
And I bet the like hash or password hashing stuff that you can use probably just looks for cards as well. It doesn't rely on SLI.
That'd be a reasonable assumption. Because a lot of these things could just use OpenCL, and then what OpenCL would do, it would be, and this wouldn't actually be DirectX 12. It's not really a DirectX 12 issue. So they could do OpenCL, and they would enumerate all the OpenCL compute devices on a system. That includes the actual processors that they have. Those become AMD compute devices, or OpenCL compute devices. But they also enumerate all the video cards, and AMD's and AMD's and NVIDIA's cards can support OpenCL. So I don't see why that wouldn't work. You would just address one workload to one OpenCL GPU and the other workload. So you'd be able to increase the power, but you couldn't. I don't think you'd have to have 2 workloads, so you double your performance, but you couldn't finish one any quicker. You work on 2 at a time, you know what I mean? But you couldn't finish one more quickly.
Still, that's the same thing.
Well, just I guess. I guess.
Whenever I'm doing SETI stuff, it's downloading like 6 or 7 workloads because I have that many items that can process it. And that's giving me more power. It essentially is meaning that I would do one faster because
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
I do 6 at a time instead of 1 at a time.
I'm in agreement with that. Yeah, absolutely.
So that seems more like the reason why NVIDIA is not supporting SLI as easily anymore, is because it's really not that big a deal.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. I agree with that interpretation.
So it would be better to get 2 1070s.
I still don't think that answer. I think there's a little bit more to consider, but I mean, feel free. That's fine. I'm sure there's people right now doing the same thing in the register, at the line or in their shopping carts and have 2 1070s in them. I mean, frankly, they're so inexpensive that it's actually very feasible to do. So, anywho, I think we got a little.
A little.
Glenn left us.
Yeah, Glenn had to go because he has internet and data troubles. So, and Gregory posted a new computer that he's
I think this. I'm trying to follow this link, but if this is the one I'm thinking about,
it's a 4 gigahertz 4790K processor with 16 gigs of DDR3, 2 terabytes.
Yeah, there was a sale on this,
really
right? For good price.
For that.
Actually, yes, that does seem. Yeah, what the fuck? That's not a good deal. Look, if I were to build a system, I'd spend $300, and that's on an i7 6700K processor. You'd spend $100 on Windows, 16 gigs of RAM. You'd spend another $100 on, and $100 on the hard drive at the most. If so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, I'd expect this machine to cost $600, $700, $750 at the most, $800 at the most, $799 maybe. They marked it up. That's crap.
Michael, what was the name of that website where you could spec out your PC build and it priced various different vendors for the parts?
Oh, yeah. PC Hound, I believe it was.
Well, it does have some nice features, like it's got liquid cooler already set up and built in, got a gold power supply, and a boot drive already set up, and the 2 terabytes is for your data and storage, I would imagine. So everything all set up and working for you is sometimes better for people that don't want to pay for the full thing. Like Michael, for example, who ordered his entire computer put together. Didn't he, Michael?
Customized each part.
But somebody else put it all together for you?
Yeah.
I think
and I still spent, and I spent a total of about $1,000 total.
So your case isn't as cool as this case.
Opinion.
Opinion. It still does look like a really cool system, and I'm sure you'll have fun with it, Gregory.
Did you go with liquid cooling, Michael?
Yes.
He did, and that's why his computer runs so hot. Anyway, I thought this was a pretty cool article. Someone went out and modified the Nintendo Power Glove to control their drone.
I just saw that. I'm so glad you started talking about it. I was going to. Yes.
That's awesome.
Oh, pretty cool.
So he would have. Is it using the original? See, he had to have modified that in some way. Well, maybe not.
No, I mean, you got most of your stuff on there. Back, forward, go, left, right.
Yeah, you're right. He could leave it largely unchained. Just need a mechanism to transmit it,
Mm-hmm.
Might be trivial, actually.
Interpreted on the drone.
Yeah, but with all of our single board computers and Arduino stuff and all that, that should be minimal.
Or, I mean, if you had it transmitting what a controller would transmit anyway, then you wouldn't
Then
have
yeah, you wouldn't have to convert anything. You're right, absolutely right. He could have just had it just do the conversion on the glove end and send it as if it were the actual remote for the drone to be. Yeah, good point.
I think that would be cool either way, just having a use for that glove. Like that, the only good thing I've seen about that glove was that movie, which I forget the name of now.
The Wonder Boy Whiz Kid, what was it? The Wizard?
Yeah. Like that's the only good thing I've seen the Power Glove do ever, is that movie.
Who calls gamers wizards anymore? I mean, that was a term that did they try to coin a term? I don't know.
Gamers could be wizards. There was the pinball wizard.
Yeah. I've been seeing a lot of stories about the cars being hacked over Wi-Fi. That's a bigger thing. I've seen a number of, and apparently Mitsubishi wasn't very concerned about the problem until they watched the video.
Is that the one with the remote stop?
There was two of these stories that I saw, and I'm not sure if they're the same or different ones, so I don't know.
Because I feel like that's a big issue if your car can be remotely stopped.
Well, I believe it did give them a tremendous amount of control, and they could. I think they could cut the engine off. I think they were able to. Oh, take a look.
Or we could take a look at this article that suggests a computer repair briefcase. So common items that you would normally need to take with you. Do any of y'all have computer repair briefcases, and what do you have in them?
What's in my briefcase? Did you ask me? What?
Yeah, for if you have a computer repair briefcase, and what's in it?
Oh no, I do not.
I have a tool belt that I use for networking and infrastructure jobs, and I have my laptop bag full of crap, and just an extra toolbox with odd tools in it. But the my tool belt for networking jobs has it has a toner, a network continuity tester, all kinds of screwdrivers, wire snips of different sizes. Carry some Cat5 jacks in it, ends, patch cables, crossover, and regular. Then I have crossover adapters. I've got a Cisco console cable.
Yeah, that's a good little.
You'd mentioned a lot of crap
precision
in your
screwdrivers.
laptop bag.
Say again?
You'd mentioned a lot of crap in your laptop bag. What kind of crap is consisted?
I've got I have a Cisco console cable in there. I have various different video adapters, VGA, DVI, HDMI.
See, yeah, I think
cables.
those are good ones because they weren't mentioned on this list as having video adapters here. I also, with mine, I would usually take like close to everything to replace a computer with. So I took a power supply, I took a video card, and
in my trunk, I would always have that. It wasn't in a briefcase though, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, that would be what I would consider as my briefcase still. So I would try to bring all of those things because, I mean, if you swap out a piece and find out that that's the piece that needs to be fixed, then that makes your job a lot easier, especially if you're doing on-site stuff like what this is designed for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, normally I decide whether or not to take various replacement parts based on what the problem is, which isn't
Yeah,
always accurate, but most of the time it is.
yeah, I tried to figure out what their computer was and then base it off of that and try to take things off that could fit or replace that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously bringing one of
I-
every single type of processor with you on a
Yeah, well, I
job
mean,
is not
processor and
feasible.
motherboard, you're not going to be just swapping out on site normally.
Yeah,
For a
yeah.
test.
Yeah.
So usually what I would do is have those test pieces, and then that would help me in those jobs where you would have never thought that the video card had gone bad to cause the issue that they were calling in about. So
Mm-hmm.
that would be when those become an extreme handy for me. Because then at least I can say, all right, look, it's definitely your video card. We can replace it with this one, which I might not recommend, or we can take it back to the shop and fix what needs to be fixed correctly that way. Or you can eliminate causes with those as well. So
It's definitely
but
nice to
I'm
be
really,
able to tell the client exactly what the problem is before you pull it and take it to the shop.
yeah. And I'm really interested that they didn't have a power supply in this, because I feel like power supply is like one of your biggest things to test, that's easiest to test there. And usually is something that if you get called on site for a computer not starting, I'd say like 8 times out of 10 it was a power supply that caused that.
Anywho, we talked about security, password security previously, and I just saw this and thought it was hilarious. So old Zuckerberg's Twitter account was hacked with the password da da da. It's a 6-character password.
Yeah, that's a pretty bad for him to have set as a password.
And Mark Zuckerberg, I mean, I would have thought he would have had a team of people like I wouldn't
Setting
have,
up passwords for him.
well, maintaining his accounts in whatever way. I mean, I heard the guy had personal
So
security guard, a security detail.
let's go ahead and make a note here that Michael at some point is going to have to get him an assistant to make up passwords for him. We're
No.
going.
What I'm saying is he pays a whole security team like hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars a
Not
year.
to check his passwords.
No, to protect his personal life is literally from being harmed physically. But
He's got
in other words,
digital
if he's got the money
bodyguards.
to do that, then why doesn't he have the money to
Wait,
to
you're saying he's got digital bodyguards?
he should have. I'm saying he should be employing digital bodyguards, much like his real bodyguards.
I don't know. I think that's a whole topic there. Should we employ digital bodyguards?
Well, he's
What's
obviously not capable of doing it
Our
himself.
current bodyguards, I feel, would.
He's not capable of taking care of his own security, and if for the investors' sake, for the people that own stock shares in Facebook, I would think that this would be a huge issue for them. But
Well, what accounts exactly got hacked?
Twitter and Pinterest.
So 2 competitive social media sites where he probably just created an account to see what the deal was with what they were offering.
Yeah, you know what? That's a good point. That's a real good
Probably
point.
was just like ABC 123.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't really care about these accounts at all.
Well, yeah. Still not the best
In
thing you want
fact,
to hear.
let them get hacked so that now people know that there's people out there hacking this social network as well as Facebook.
Oh, so it's all planned. Okay. Well, that's an interesting point of view. You may be onto something there.
That's why I didn't bring up that, because it posted a while ago, and I was like, well, that's dumb. Like, if his Facebook account got hacked, then that makes a big difference, and that has happened.
Good point.
People have hijacked his wall to point out issues with.
Well, yeah. This was in the past, but yeah.
I thought this article was interesting. In the age of crowdsourcing information, So essentially, these people in this neighborhood got upset because Waze, the mapping program that's owned by Google now, started redirecting people around a construction area. So there was a road that was under construction that was heavily used, and Waze started redirecting people down this back neighborhood road as a quick alternative route access. And now all these people have traffic and stuff on their road. And
Wah, wah, wah.
so what they decided to do was try to fake out Waze by putting in like accident reports on that street, and
I read the story.
neighbors confirmed that there were accidents there. And I really thought what was interesting was the fact that Waze actively combats those things. So
It was interesting.
not
that,
only
was it
the
actively, or was it just the users combating it?
No. It's not only the crowdsourcing where the users are combating it. So like if you report a crash and it's not real, the people that end up going down that road anyway using Waze are going to say,
Will say no.
Here.
Bullshit.
Yeah. So it gets actively, or it gets reactively done by crowdsourcing in that perspective. But it also said in the Slashdot thing that they had mentioned that they do proactively go against people that are trying to influence map data. So they'll proactively cancel your account if they notice you're trying to just do map data regulation and reporting an accident on your street every day without your phone moving anywhere, because they can obviously tell if you're driving in ways. Kind of flags you pretty highly, I would imagine.
Yeah. So that's good to know. That's good to know. But right, you're kind of with the service in this case, right? I mean, I'm sorry for the inconvenience to those people, but that's just the way things are. If those houses that are annoyed by this,
I'm even more upset with the people trying to mess that stuff up. Like
exactly. So
they're actively trying to break a good technology, and it's
yeah. And if these people discovered this route, without the app, they just drove around all day one day and went down every side road and every street, and they found the route that they wanted to. They're going to always use that route whenever then a situation would come up. So I mean, it's
well, and they had pointed that out in the article as well, is that it used to be if there was an easy, quick route around something, like you had to be in the know, you had to be one of the privileged to be able to use that route, kind of thing.
Bullshit. Yeah. Now this day and age with maps of everything and everybody having access to that data, it seems like this is a perfect socially driven technology, crowdsourced technology that would expose that information to everyone. And why keep it private? And there's no expectation of privacy about that sort of thing. Why? On what grounds does the person? And I don't think there's any legal basis for them to fight against this. If the road exists in front of their house, right? I mean, it's not their road. They didn't put it there. They don't own the road. So whoever the fuck drives on it, they should have picked.
Well, I mean, I feel like that's a thing when people go out and purchase houses, though, is they do feel like the road that they are on is their road.
Well, I mean, that's
the way I see it. I mean, I don't think they have any legal recourse for keeping people off of a public road. But if I bought a house specifically because it's in an area on a street with a low amount of traffic,
that's a poor decision. You should have your house. You should have your house gated and have a half mile or a mile long driveway. In that case, it doesn't matter who's on that public street outside of it. The only way, I mean, you're just hoping that in the future you won't have a whole new subdivision built down the street and more traffic come through, because that can always happen. They can always rebuild a highway or build a new overpass or whatever and ruin your home's property value. I mean, that can just happen, and it has nothing to do with an app or social media or anything else.
Yeah, so people are getting more upset at something like, well, you can do things about that other stuff though, Michael. You can go to city hall things and turn down permit requests and things of that nature. You can have alternative
Yeah.
in that field. But with an app, you really don't have any recourse or options or things of that nature. And also,
I'm not
consider the
just
fact
because you can go down and say I protest
But
this.
also,
Look, if I go down and say I protest ECU's expansion of the grounds around the school and all that, I can scream from the hilltops all day long, but there ain't going to be a rat chance that that's ever going to not pass because they provide all the money for the town. The town is basically built on the pocket purse
what town was that?
of. Forget about it.
I
Forget
think
about it.
that I think that most cities are going to go with progress more than they are one individual or a few individuals' desire to keep an area
But I'm saying
secluded.
you do have a choice and an option in that, and even if something passes, you can go back and get it changed if there's safety concerns. And that's what I was going to bring up as the next point about it. Is now you have an app that easily does that with no recourse for you on any points, and you have people that are obviously in a hurry trying to get around a construction area on what would normally have been a main thoroughfare, so probably a higher speed limit than a neighborhood back route. So now you have people flying down your neighborhood back road.
And then the police parks itself on that street, and guess what? Then people stop going that way because they don't want to get pulled over by the cops. There's lots of solutions to this, and it's one of those things that'll settle itself out. Like I said, if there's a whole bunch of accidents in that neighborhood,
when you
there's a
call
whole
up
bunch
the
of
cops and say, "Hey, can you sit outside of my street?" They're like, "Yeah, sure."
No. But that's the cop's job. That's the cop's job. If a person calls the police department and complains, "Oh my God, there's 6 cars and a wrecks on here, and there's wrecks every week." Yeah, the police are going to be out there every week with a car.
If
Okay.
there's wrecks, but I'm talking about now you got a what would normally be a quiet back neighborhood road that has a very slow speed limit and low traffic and has kids playing in the road all the time. You now have as a replacement major thoroughfare
I
by
mean,
people that are not
eminent
only
domain, eminent
on
domain. I mean, it's
looking at their phones doing stuff on maps instead of paying attention to driving.
they shouldn't be doing those things anywhere, no matter what highway they're on. Okay, they shouldn't be looking at their cell phone. They shouldn't be speeding. They shouldn't be, going through a residential area at 90 miles an hour just because they want to get to work and get around a wreck. I mean, you're talking about a whole host of other things that they would be engaging in that I think this is perfectly fine. I don't see anything wrong with it unless those people own that street, unless they physically own the street. There's no way you're going to make me see how they have a case here.
So if the major highway near your house got rerouted and all the traffic was there,
Yeah, actually, they're doing that to a friend of mine. They plowed down everything behind his house, and I'm guessing they're going to be putting roads there.
They could petition
for
to
his
have
property.
speed bumps put in. That would help with traffic.
No, there's that too.
That would too. You're right.
But then they'd have to deal with the speed bumps too, and of course they wouldn't want
Well, I mean, you got to take a little, get a little.
that. Exactly. But I see this happen all the time with eminent domain. You don't have a choice. For the most part, you can complain all you want to, but more than likely, there's big bucks behind what's happening. In other words, nobody just builds a huge highway for no reason whatsoever. They don't just if we build it, they will come. No, it's all pre-planned. So there's a clear agenda, clear business.
I think they do for that. They do build things and just say, "Oh, let's build it and they'll come." That's actually why they do that normally.
No, they build it for the purposes. So, for instance, there's a group that's expanding, and as they expand, it brings more people to come to this institution, and that brings more traffic in, and so they have to.
Yeah. So if you build it, then it will expand. So they will come.
No, but they're already expanding it before they're even building the road. In other words, so they definitely didn't do it the other way around, like you're suggesting. In other words, they're already building the expansion before the road's even there.
What?
I mean, that's
how can you expand on something you haven't done yet? They're just starting somewhere else, it sounds like.
No, two things: buildings and roads. Okay. In other words, what he's saying is that they build a road first, and then the buildings will come up after. No, it's the buildings are coming first, and the roads won't be done for a long time after that, till 2019.
How are you going to get all the stuff to the buildings without some type of
It
road?
can still get in. It can still get in now. I mean, there are
It
roads,
might
I'm
be a
assuming you
dirt
built the
road, but it's
roads
still a
as you're
road.
building the
additional
buildings.
roads,
You build a building and you
road
build a road to it.
expansion and things like that.
So the
area is already there, and you, they are. In other words, there's roads already there. It's not like there's no roads to these places. But they're
where?
building additional roads.
What roads? Where are you talking about?
Forget it. Just forget it. It's not important. It's not important. They do it the other way around in some cases, though, was my position. But
what is important is it looks like you can look pretty awesome with a pogo stick.
uh-oh.
So check that out. That's some pretty impressive pogoing, I feel.
Why can't I click on this link? It's so weird.
Holy cow.
New Jersey has some strange traffic laws. I'll say that much, RTM Tech. They do things differently there, to say the least. Isn't that some pretty sweet pogoing?
Yeah, I did not realize that pogo sticking was a popular thing.
Yeah, I've never even seen people wear helmets, but I've never also seen people do a backflip on a pogo stick.
Yeah.
That's pretty sweet.
And this was the Gizmodo link. Oh, yeah. Holy wow. Holy. I need to get these pogo sticks. These seem to be a little bit better than the last ones I was ever using.
That could be the case. There could have been a great advances in pogo sticks since I've looked into them.
Yeah, I'd say that has part to do with it, but is that a real... How are they filming this? Why does it look like that?
Magic.
Magic, yeah.
I think it's all green screen. The great pogo conspiracy of 2016.
Exactly. Because there's not enough other good conspiracies out there. And I actually want to see, but I want to see when they miscalculate, and this is ostensibly, hopefully filmed around the Grand Canyon. They go over the edge, and I want to see that pogo bounce where they just go straight to the bottom, hit the ground with the pogo stick, and what happens then? What happens? Do they boing way back up, or do they go splat, or what happens at that point?
Yeah, I would be interested to learn more about the physics of pogo sticking.
I mean, there would have to be some absolute limitations on the types of forces it could endure, and I think that would probably be in excess of what it's been designed for, considering that at that acceleration and your weight, you would appear to be a much, much heavier person, or whatever, than you were. And that would probably, I don't think there's enough material in those pogo sticks to withstand that type of force.
The next way people get to the moon, pogo sticking into the Grand Canyon.
Well, I think there's probably some physics issues in place that would prevent that from ever actually happening, because you can never bounce higher than you started. So that really doesn't work. But
wait, what?
You can't. In other words, you're going to lose some energy every time you go up and down. So your second bounce is never going to be higher than your first bounce or whatever.
Yeah, but the first bounce is all that matters if that one gets you to the moon.
It's true. Yeah. That's
And I believe that if you
on
jump,
one bounce.
you can get higher than where you jump from, depending on how the springs compress. And
Well, yeah, and there's probably some technological advancements with them, and spring technology, and maybe new material sciences, and other things. But
how come we don't have hydraulic pogo sticks?
well, there you go. They've automated electric pogo sticks, electric enhancement pogo sticks, maybe even brain controlled pogo sticks. I don't know.
They have electric pogo sticks.
Did you see the article about them?
One hooked up to an air compressor. It's only good for one jump, but that's all you'll do.
Why I'm spending a whole lot of time
Our new
focusing
rocket
on whether or not
actually just a pogo stick with an air compressor on the back. But
why I'm spending so much time considering whether or not it's feasible to pogo stick into the Grand Canyon in order to reach the moon cheaper than by any other means that we have. Now,
I'm more interested
might,
in the rocket pack.
and just because you get up there doesn't mean you're going to survive re-entry either.
For the incredible advancements in technology.
I don't think you'll have to worry about reentry if you can't breathe once you get there.
Yeah.
Oh, this is interesting. This
for some time.
This is what about this? What about this article? Speaking of Facebook vulnerabilities that we were talking about, their chat and messenger apparently are very vulnerable, easily vulnerable.
Like what? What's vulnerable about it?
So it looks like they just have to know the message ID. So they just need basic HTML knowledge and any generally available browser debug tool.
And they'll get someone's random message ID number.
Yeah, so you could use that to send a message, and the user that sent it would never know.
But you would have to have something related to that user.
They can also alter the message that the user sent. And no, all you would have to do is inspect it till you found a message ID that matched up. Oh, yeah, this looks like it's could be nasty. So you basically can change entire chat threads, and the victim wouldn't notice. You could insert malware into a chat feed, and the person could think that that's being sent by the legitimate person, and then click on it to infect themselves, for instance.
But you're saying you're saying they would test for a message ID number, so they just get some random person's conversation to do this with.
It says that they can get that. They don't go into specifics of how they actually obtain the message ID. It says an attacker simply needs to identify the unique ID for the sent message he or she is targeting, and I'm assuming there's a way to do that. If there's not, then they probably wouldn't be talking about it. But at any rate, it looks like Facebook has mitigated some of these things already. So if it's still an issue, it probably won't be for much longer. But anyway.
The PC Hound site, Michael, does it also check compatibility between parts?
Yes, it does, which is great. So if you have a build and you replace the processor, and let's say it uses a different socket, it'll flag the parts that don't match up with that, and it'll flag the memory technologies that don't match up with your motherboard, for instance. It also takes a lot of other things into account. If you try to match a part that doesn't have a connector based upon the system that you've built, I believe the intent is for them to eventually report on that as well. So how far they've gotten along in that process, because it's constantly evolving, I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, I also like that it shows you how many watts are estimated for your build too. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
That's
that
huge
is
for
pretty cool.
consumers. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, here's another one you might want to check out, and I haven't compared the two either. But PC Part Picker,
Oh, okay. I'll take a look.
it seems to do a lot of the same things. Compares different vendors and checks compatibility, but I haven't compared the two together.
The one thing that I liked about the PC Hound is the sourcing for the pricing information. The problem with some of these other sites, and I'm not saying specifically about the one that you mentioned, but if it sources the pricing information from a localized area or from somewhere where you typically wouldn't purchase, it may not be the best tool. So I've always been pretty fond of PC Hound's sources that they search and where they pull that data from. And if I suppose if this did something similar, I'd be fine with it as well. But it doesn't. All right. Let's look. In fact, you know what?
Well, while Michael looks that up, looks like Samsung may be having bendable phones next February. That'll be pretty sweet, right? Don't you want your phone to be foldable? Then you can have a tablet.
That's pretty cool.
Actually, this site's doing most of what the other one is doing. It looks like it's only listing compatible motherboards with the processor that I chose, so it seems to be off to a good start. Yeah, I'm gonna look into that a little bit more. This looks good. If the pricing information is accurate and they're checking compatibility.
The pricing information is good.
Let me see here. So I kind of like this. I don't know. The completely different interfaces,
Yeah, the interface of PC Hound looks a little cleaner.
Yeah, and they provide almost an overly exhaustive search, but it does estimate the wattage as well. So I don't know. It's interesting. Yeah. That's I'm gonna keep that in mind. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we have reached past our hour time limit for today. I had one other link I wanted to mention quickly. That seemed like a cool program, Gifster, that will do screen captures as GIFs. So if you have something you need to show off on your website that's easy to do, you can just have a GIF animation of it on your website. I thought that was pretty cool.
Cool.
So let's go ahead and wrap her up for today, and we'll be back tomorrow at 2 p.m.
2 p.m. Yes.
Wednesday.
That's right. Tomorrow is Wednesday.
There we go. Working. So yeah, we'll be back then, and we are here primarily to ask and answer any questions about our software and services. And otherwise, I hope you all have a good rest of your week, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Goodbye, internets.
Oh no, Proctor. Twitch is down.